How has the recent attack on Advocate Nico du Plessis impacted the legal profession? Has the public lost faith in the judicial system? Of what importance is the presumption of innocence until proven guilty? And how do the courts ensure that convicted criminals receive appropriate sentences? What time is it? Well, it's question time. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Question Time this evening. My name is Siphiwe Nzaumbi, once again standing in for Port Said. Now, the attack on Advocate Nico du Plessis by a mob outside Nkomazi Magistrate's Court in Tonga Mpumalanga just under 2 weeks ago has put the safety of legal representatives under the spotlight. Advocate du Plessis was representing 2 of the 4 suspected charged with kidnapping the 3-year-old Lutricia Nkentjane, whose body is still missing and not being retrieved. For its part, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development is tasked with upholding and protecting the Constitution and the rule of law. But the question is, how does the department help legal representatives to perform their duties without fear or favour? Now, joining me in studio just to discuss this issue is governmental or ministerial spokesperson, Mr. Tonga. We'll also give you an opportunity to be a part of us. The number to dial is 089 110 4210. If you're calling abroad, it's 002789 110 4210. You can also get us on Twitter. The Twitter handle is @QuestionTime24, or just join us on Skype. Advocate, let's welcome you once again on Question Time this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, and thanks for having me, Spill.
Now, surely this can't be accepted behavior in a democratic society.
I must indicate that we were taken aback by the incident because it's unprecedented. And the minister and the entire members of the Justice, Crime and Prevention and Security cluster were really disturbed by the incident. Mainly because it has an impact and a bearing on the proper administration of justice, in the sense that every accused person is guaranteed to have legal representation in court because of the presumption of innocence until you're proven guilty. Now, once that constitutional right that is enshrined in our constitution is violated by our people, we really find that quite disheartening. And we can simply describe that as one of the acts of mob injustice and an element or indication of lack of patience with the justice system. And it's unprecedented. And I had a chat with him two hours ago. And
how is he doing?
Look, he's fine. Of course, he was shaken after the incident. He was in court when I called him because he was busy with another case. And tomorrow he's going to court again. But we've moved the matter now from Tonga to Nelspruit, which is about 80 kilometers from where the incident took place. And obviously we have security plans to make sure that there's no recurrence of that unfortunate incident.
Now, in your view, do you think that perhaps this is an indication that the civil society has lost hope in the justice system?
It is an indication of people that are impatient with the system, who lack a full understanding and knowledge of how the justice system operates and the processes. Mainly because people in most cases believe that they can dispense injustice, though you get justice only in our courts of law. And obviously it has a bearing on the administration of justice, because at the end of the day, if a legal representative is in fear of representing a person who's accused, who at that stage his innocence and guilt has not been pronounced upon by the courts of law. Now his right to legal representation is being infringed. It therefore has a bearing on the administration of justice. That's why we are disturbed. And yesterday I had a chat with the minister about the incident. And he indicated his intention and a meeting to meet with the Minister of Police, have a bilateral, so that all the issues that are of concern, because this is not the first incident insofar as an attack in court. Because in Durban, an incident like this happened outside of the court precinct after the case has been postponed. Now, it means that we need to be concerned and actually have a plan on how to deal with it. Obviously, engagements are ongoing, but we want an integrated approach to the whole matter, so that justice on its own, we don't approach this in piecemeals because it's not going to help us, because we're not law enforcement.
Now, in South Africa, many believe that if we want to rid our country of the acts of crime or the scourge of crime, we need tougher sentences. Do you perhaps believe this is the answer to their questions, or rather a solution to this problem?
Look, the solution, firstly, it's a good relationship between law enforcement, prosecutors, and the community out there, and the victims of crime and complainants and relatives of the victims of crime. Once you have the same relationship that an attorney has with a client, where you have a prosecutor having that solid relationship with the witness and complainant, and the investigator having that solid relationship with the relatives and interested parties in that case, it boosts the confidence of the public, because then they will get regular updates on how the matter is progressing in court.
All right.
Once they don't get that, that's when people start getting frustrated. That's why also part of it is an education on how the system works, because once a person gets bail, people believe that he's scot-free, now he's found not guilty, but bail is not tantamount or doesn't amount to an acquittal. It's just a means of securing the attendance of that person in court. Okay. Now, coming back to your question to say sentences, deserving sentences, of course, will instill that confidence in people in the justice system. But you must understand that justice is not about conviction. Convictions must come naturally after facts are presented by prosecutors, after evidence is presented by police. And in court, as a prosecutor, you are as good as your evidence. In the absence of any evidence, you are unlikely to secure a conviction. And we always said, when was it varsity taught law, you were always taught that it's not about what you know, but what you can prove in a court of law. And I'm sure you know that.
All right, let's now go and hear from our callers. We've got Professor who's calling us from Tabazimbi. Professor, welcome to Question Time.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm well. I think this incident of attacking lawyers, I think it's one of those isolated cases whereby a lawyer is being attacked. It's just that, like my friend has just said now, each and everyone in the country have got a right to representation in court until proven guilty. And then I'm just afraid that this can be the sickness that can spread to the magistrate as well. If they can attack an advocate or maybe an attorney in court representing his or her client, surely that can happen. They can also attack a magistrate. And then we are law-abiding citizens, and such incidents should not be allowed to happen in our democratic country. And then the other issue or question that I'd like to pose to my friend there is that if you say in South Africa we are equal before the law, why are some certain people like the recent king who was convicted for 12 years, those people are given permission that they must, after being found guilty, we have got incidences like Terre Blanche, and they are told that you must report to correctional services on such and such a date. Whereas me, as an ordinary citizen, when I'm convicted now, I'm found guilty, I'm just locked up to a cell right away. But now the Constitution says we are all equal before the eyes of the law. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Professor. Well, I think it's an issue, or the second question precisely is about, being presented unequally before the law. Do you think that perhaps that's the issue when it comes to the South African, especially made reference to the case of Terre Blanche?
You see, what worries me is that this is a perception and born of how sometimes media gets to report cases. And unfortunately, media reports those cases that are newsworthy because Aunt Nokolo somewhere in Abaha, in Willowvale, may not be as important, though the same set of facts would fit the Terre Blanche case, but now it's elevated because of the newsworthiness of it. We understand that people who, for example, are rich have access to the best lawyers in the country because lawyers are very expensive.
Yes.
But equally, we've managed to pump in money into the legal aid to ensure that at least they improve the quality of legal representation for those indigent people that is accused who are poor and cannot afford expensive lawyers. Now trying to balance the scale so that at least the playing fields are level. Those are some of the measures that Minister, since he took over, he's trying to implement so that at least there is a proper administration.
And issues of security, ensuring that there's proper security for legal practitioners as
well. Look, I need to break it down to say...
Okay, before we break it down, Advocate, let's perhaps go for an ad break. Well, just a reminder that you're still watching Question Time right here on SABC News Channel 404. Today on Question Time, we're tackling issues surrounding the legal practitioners, especially the case of Advocate Nico du Plessis, who was attacked outside the court in Mpumalanga just a few weeks ago. Well, you can be a part of our discussion. Call us. The number is 089 110 4210. And of course, if you're calling abroad, it's 002789 110 4210. Question Time will continue after this.
The thing that really matters is for someone to hear me when I ask, why are all the things I get from my bank limited when they say it's all included? Limited card swipes, limited ATM withdrawals. It's so limited, it's like they never gave it to me in the first place. Now that's what really matters. Finding a bank that really cares about me. A bank like Nedbank. We have a savvy bundle account that gives me unlimited ATM withdrawals, unlimited card swipes, and unlimited prepaid purchases.
Get unlimited banking and a platinum credit card, all for a fixed fee. Join Nedbank today.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time right here on SABC News Channel 404. My guest studio today is Advocate Tonga Mpumalanga, spokesperson at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Now, before the break, we had Professor was calling us, and he touched on issues of inequality, but he also touched on the issue of security, especially protection towards those who are either new or who have been practicing in the legal field for quite some time. Whose mandate is it to ensure that legal practitioners practice their duties without fear of victimization?
The Department of Justice is providing administrative support to all court proceedings and all the officials that work in our courts. In addition to that, we also provide protection to the assets that are in court and the entire building, as well as the officials there, that is judicial officers, your judges, your magistrate, your prosecutors, and clerk of the court, including legal practitioners, and also people that frequent our courts to get our services. Now, there are accused persons that then fall under the police because they are the ones that are guarded by the police as awaiting trial prisoners. And those that are sentenced fall under Department of Correctional Services, and they will be escorted by those warders into the court. Now, unfortunately, outside of the court precinct, we do not necessarily have a mandate or responsibility to protect them because we do not anticipate that they would be attacked because it is unprecedented. Even in respect of this incident, it's the first time. And when I spoke to the head of security in the court, he says, we did not anticipate that in a small remote town like Tonga, such would happen. That's why we moved it to Nelspruit.
All right.
So that's why I'm saying it's unprecedented and unfortunate. That's why it is necessary now for Minister to have a bilateral with the Minister of Police, because the entire justice, crime, prevention and security cluster has a responsibility to protect everyone who's involved in court proceedings.
All right. Let's go and hear from Roy, who's calling us from Kempton Park. Roy, welcome to Question Time.
How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm fine, man. I just want to check with Mtunzi, man. I serve in the Nkomazi Park CPF here. We have been all along advocating for in our CPM forums to say it would be good to have the advocate and their departments forming part of those meetings, because the community is worried where the number of cases going to court, the police catch criminals, and then the number of cases thrown out, but there is no explanation. So does it doesn't he think that needs his department to come to those forums to explain to the community so that these frustrations are not, because what he's saying there, yes, it's uncalled for, but the community is so frustrated. They don't have the information. There's prosecutions, but they don't get back the feedback coming back to them.
All right, thank you so much, Roy. That's Roy was calling us from Kempton Park. Do you want to take on that?
Yes, thanks, Roy. And it's important what he's raising. We have what we call integrated justice system project, where the police, the judicial officers, the prosecution, the correctional services and community policing forum come in, and they are nominated representatives from the community policing forum that get to monitor and get updates on cases of interest to the community. Okay. So that is happening.
All right.
And I must indicate, Pure, that we always have a security plan whenever there's a high-profile case that has induced a sense of outrage and a public outcry in the community, that we interest them to come to court and picket against bail and harsher sentences. You will recall in the Eugene Terry Planche case, it was incident-free because there was a proper plan in place, because we anticipated a potential risk and threat. Jub case, the entire schooling in Soweto was shut down. But we had a security plan, but unfortunately I can't detail that for obvious reasons.
Now, of what importance is the presumption of innocence until proven guilty?
It's important in the sense that it's in the Constitution, and courts are the guardians of the Constitution. It is for that reason that a legal representative who is well trained must be afforded an opportunity to defend this person and explain the implications of the charges that he is facing. That's a right that he gets when he gets to court. That's why we're saying, if these people decide to beat the legal representative, that right which is in the Constitution won't be exercised by that person, because that person is still presumed innocent until such time that the judge uses the hammer or magistrate to say guilty as charged.
I mean, it's very clear that the public's lack of understanding of how the criminal justice system works leads to such presumptions, or rather expectations, of how the state should deliver when it comes to these cases. We saw it evident in Oscar Pistorius' case, where Judge Masipa was put under scrutiny. The case was taken to the High Court. We also saw it, the kind of similar violation, when it came to the Idol's Judge case, where there was legal representation, especially because one who has both mandates in the political fraternity and also in the legal fraternity, how do they then differentiate their duties when it comes to picking one and being obliged to one?
It's pure in as much as we assume that people know, people lack understanding of the criminal justice system. That is why, as justice, NPA, and law enforcement, we embark on educational campaigns. In addition to that, we do outreach programs called Imbizos, where we go to the communities and...
But are these received well?
They are received well. Just recently, Minister was in Mpumalanga, and before that, he was in Deep Sloot. And before that, the whole cluster was in Khayelitsha. Now, you can see that those are interventions that we put in place in the process of educating our people and actually explaining to them step by step. And we would have a judge, a magistrate, a prosecutor, investigating officer, correctional services, home affairs, social worker, all of them there. And even the education program that NPA has, justice has, police have, we speak the language that people understand. If you are in Venda, we speak Venda. In Willowvale, we use Xhosa. If you are in the Western Cape, Xhosa,
so that the programs can be reachable.
Exactly.
All right, let's go and hear from Itumeleng, who's calling us from Pretoria. Itumeleng, welcome to Question Time.
Thank you very much. I understand that laws are created by the government for the society at large, policies and then rules. So when the society at large, those laws are created for the head of the country until a person was born yesterday. So when the society at large feel those laws no longer serve them, or no longer serve them in the right way, like they don't receive justice from the laws, they no longer obey the laws.
All right.
I'm saying this because of most of what we are seeing in this country, especially what is done in the communities, where people end up taking the law into their own hands.
All right. Because
they don't feel justice is done when crime or something wrong is done in the community. Lawyers are lawyers. Lawyers, they want money. They will represent even a rapist. They want money. But the community needs the National Prosecuting Authority to do their job right, so that those who do wrong,
All right.
no longer come back on the streets.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay.
Because of time, at least we got the gist of your question. Let's now go and see what people are saying on Twitter. Remember that I said you can be a part of our discussion by sending us tweets at QuestionTime24. And now I'm waiting for those tweets to come up. All right, I've got Caiaphas, who says, the incident is totally unacceptable, but there was a serious lack of security visibility there in the magistrate's building. And the next tweet is from Pagamisa Ngola, who says, do you think our justice profession is well equipped to deal with cases relating to our customs and traditions? Do you want to take on the second one or rather the first one?
Well, both.
Let's start with Pagamisa. Do you think our justice system is well equipped to deal with?
It is well equipped because we study customary law when we're at the law school. And there's a differentiation when you are confronted with an issue that relates to custom. Because customary law or custom must not be inconsistent with the Constitution. Once it's inconsistent with the Constitution, then it's not applicable in our law. That's why we would say, let it be tested against the Constitution, which is one of the many cries when it comes to the case of King Dalindyebo, who is now serving 12 years in our center. In as far as the allegation that there was no security in the court, there was security in the courts.
Right.
But of course, outside of the court precincts, of course, there wasn't security because then you become an ordinary member, you know, who's carrying on his business once you are done with the court. But I want to emphasize again that what happened there was unprecedented and not anticipated. There was no potential risk in that matter because it's in Tonga and we did not foresee a possibility of people outside harming those who would have participated in the case when they leave the court. Because
All right.
there were no such.
Quickly, before we round up our discussion, let me quickly take Bulelani, who's calling us from the Eastern Cape. Bulelani, welcome to Question Time.
Welcome, Ndadempo. How are you?
Well, thank you. Just quickly.
Yes, I'm fine. Unfortunately, I just arrived now. I don't know what incident I was talking about, but I just want to cut in there whereby Ndadempo is saying, as the Justice Flag study, do get out into the communities, inform the community of what is happening within the criminal justice system. I would like to concur with him, you know, because this is what we are doing. What he's saying we are doing. Yes, I'm employed by correctional services. But month in and month out, we go out to the communities, inform them, we invite our social development, each and every government department that is involved with the justice cluster.
All right.
We sit down, we explain to the community all the proceedings with it, from when crime is committed up until sentence time, going up to parole.
So have more educational programs as into
there is a lot that we are doing. But now the unfortunate part of it.
Okay, Bulelani, because of time, unfortunately, we have to cut you right there. But thank you so much for your contribution. Do you perhaps want to add on what Bulelani said? Or perhaps we have
well said.
similar
He's my
programs?
colleague, so I don't want to feel
yes,
like
but
he's
what other programs,
faith.
especially when it comes to addressing case backlogs throughout the country?
The Integrated Justice System program deals exactly with that, where we monitor cases, make sure that from the time the matter is enrolled, it doesn't stay on the roll for 6 months without being finalized, without any valid reason. And the Chief Justice, the Regional Court President have various programs nationally and provincially to make sure that once a case goes in, case flow management deals specifically with that, and we are winning that war.
All right. Well, because of time, that's where we have to end our discussion. Thank you so much for joining us, Advocate.
Thank you very much for the
perhaps we'll have a second session of our
we'll
discussion.
Have an hour and
just
talk
to bring these
broadly
educational
about
programs,
justice
especially.
System.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, that was Question Time for you this evening. A big thank you to my guests right here in studio and for you right there at home for watching. My name is Sipiwe Nzaumbi. Join Question Time again tomorrow, same time, same place. Till then, it's goodbye.